Right.
She's a girl.
Okay, Radhika, how are you?
Hi, sir. I'm doing good. Actually, I was facing some issue with my internet. That's why I was doing login and log
Well,
out. So sorry
I
for that.
understand. No problem. So let's meet you, Radhika, before we're almost starting the lecture. So you can just introduce yourself, your name, your course you're studying, and maybe perhaps your hobby or anything you want us to know about you. Thank you.
Uh, okay, so my name is Radhika, and I have an experience of 10 years, and I
Wow.
worked with a company called Google for on a payroll of a global logic company. And my last designation was as a team lead, and I'm a certified Scrum Master, and now I'm working towards my CAPM, and let's hope this course will help me on that.
Of course, it will.
Yeah.
Definitely to definitely help you. And I'm glad to know that you are a certified Scrum Master. So part of what we're going to be talking about is Agile. So which is, and I know Scrum is one of the Agile, methodology. So
Yes.
that makes it easy for me to be able to deliver my lecture at ease. All right. So without further ado, we'll be moving to the slide. I'm just sharing the slide now. Please confirm if you can see my slide.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
see my slide?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir, we can see
Okay.
your slide.
What can you see? Read it out, please.
It's the PML course name, course subject, and week and unit.
Okay. Good. Good. All right. So the agenda for Unit 1, we've done the introduction. So the second part, I think I discussed that earlier with Godi. So we're going to be doing group formation. So every person in the class are supposed to give me the names of their groups. You're supposed to have a group of 5 to 7 members. Maximum is 7. So form your groups and send their names to me so that I can help you form that group on Moodle. If anybody doesn't submit their name, so I have the power to put them in any groups that I like. All right, so we're going to be talking also about the course outline, the performance domain, organization versus developmental approaches to advanced project management, agile values and principles. So those are the areas we're going to be talking about today. All right. So I just mentioned about the small groups that students are supposed to form and send their names to me and also to introduce themselves. We've done introduction already. So the learning outcomes upon successful completion of this unit 1, you should be able to explain the meaning of agile project management and why we need agile project management and project management, and also describe the benefit and usage of approaches uh, in advanced project management, such as the adaptive, predictive, and hybrid approaches. You should also be able to explain examples that we use each of these methodologies, developmental approaches for, and also relates the Agile Manifesto Principles to day-to-day project management. All right, so the performance domain is where we're going to be starting from. What is performance domain? So when we talk about performance domain, we refer to the developmental approaches to project management, the delivery cadence, the project life cycle, and that are needed to be optimized to achieve project outcomes. So in this definition of performance definition, we have core uh, words or keywords. The first one is developmental approach, delivery cadence, project life cycle, and project life cycle. So we're going to be looking at some of these in our project phases. So some of the definitions we have here, the following definitions are are relevant to developmental approaches and life cycles of a project management, performance domain. So deliverables, when you talk about deliverables, you're talking about the unique and verifiable product, service, or results, all right, or capability to perform a service that is required to produce to complete a process, phase, or a project. Developmental approach, we're talking about the method used to create or evolve a product or a service, the method we use, the type of project management approaches we use in completing a project life cycle. All right. And basically, we have three types: predictive, adaptive, and hybrid. All right. Under each of these three, we have different types, but the broader, classes are just three. Cadence is the rhythm of activities conducted throughout the project, the flow of activity from step one, step two, or stage one, stage two, stage three. Then project phase, a collection of logical related project activities that culminate in the completion of one or more deliverables. Then, of course, the project life cycle is the total or entire series of phases, right? That consists of all the project that the project must pass through from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. That is project life cycle. So from the beginning or the starting point of the project to the end point of the project, the series or the phases of the project is called project life cycle. Now, type of developmental approach. Just like I said earlier, we have three types of approaches. The first one is adaptive, which is agile or iterative. I know the Scrum Master in the house will understand what I mean. Predictive, plan driven or waterfall. I know some of you are already aware or you're familiar with the word waterfall. And hybrid, that consists of combination of both predictive and adaptive approaches. So development approach affects the project outcome and stakeholder satisfaction. So if you want to carry on a project, you need to understand what kind of approach are you going to be using. Okay. Developmental approach defines whether it can be adaptive, predictive, or what hybrid will be used. You need to identify which one is better for your projects. Development approach is the way of organizing and planning the project deliverables, variables, and life cycle. This development approach depends on the project scope, risk, requirements, and feedback cycle. So we're going to be looking at the difference between predictive and adaptive approaches. All right. Under development approach, we have three main ones. All right. Predictive, adaptive. Then the third one is hybrid, which is the combination of both predictive and adaptive. So when we talk about predictive approach in project management, what do we mean? All right. Some of you have had something like waterfall, traditional project management approaches. So predictive project management is systematic and plan-driven approaches that involve detailed planning, documentation, and execution based on well-defined requirements. That means from A to Z of the project has been planned and there is a roadmap to be followed. All right. It's very rigid, to just change in between. So you have to follow the process, the roadmap from A to Z. So um, it's often compared to a roadmap where project teams follow a linear path, completing one phase before they move to the next, So that is predictive. So you can predict what is going to be if you finish stage one, you already know what is in stage two. You already know what is in stage three. That's why it's called predictive. Then on the other hand, we have adaptive project management. This one is a new way of doing project management, and under that we have agile. All right. So that means it's adaptive. Adaptive means it's open, it's susceptible to change. all right, according to clients or stakeholders' needs. And in Agile, we call stakeholders sponsors, all right? So it's one of the methodology that is evolving today, and it's better, adapted in a changing environment. So adaptive project management often will often use it synonymously with agile methodology. So it's response to challenges posed by projects that demand flexibility, continuous change, or continuous adaptation. So unlike the predictive project management that works on a linear roadmap, so that follow series of sequences or phases, adaptive project management embraces change, all right, iteration, change according to uh, new choices of or new requirements from stakeholders. So that is the main difference. For predictive, we use it in a project management that is static, that has is rigid plan from end to end, while adaptive project management are approaches that we use where there are a lot of changes, flexibilities, and new requirements that might come up as as we progress in the project phases. So adaptive or agile approaches are better used most times when we have high uncertainty and volatility. So where there are likely to be changes throughout the project life cycle. So a clear vision is established at the start of the project, and of course, the initial requirement of the project. But as time goes on, you know, there are things that might need to be changed, or there might need to be addition from the stakeholders. And as those additions are coming, or as those changes are coming, it's very good to use adaptive or agile approaches. If you're using predictive approaches like waterfall, it's going to be it's going to mess up the project. All right. So we use most time adaptive or agile approach where there are detailed changes, and there are changes that can come as a result of new stakeholders requirements, user feedback, changes according to law or legislation, environmental challenges, or unexpected events, even the art of God. So adaptive approaches, we use things like iterative, which is agile, incremental approaches. All right. And however, on the far side of adaptive methods, the iteration tends to get shorter, and products is more likely to evolve based on stakeholders' requirements or feedback. So under agile, we use agile mindset, based on feedback, based on new changes. So agile approaches can also be considered as adaptive, all right? Just like I said earlier. So some agile approaches entails iterations. So for instance, the lady who is a Scrum Master here can bear me witness that in Scrum we have what is called, sprints. In XP we call it iterations. So meaning that each sprints might last between 1 to 4 weeks. So you break down your project into different phases, and each of those phases is called sprint. So you spend, 2 weeks to 4 weeks. You know, once you finish that phase, you 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 come to your iteration. You look at it together with the team and the project sponsor, and if it's okay, then you now move to the next one. So the purpose of iteration is to be able to accommodate flexibility and change during that process. So project management is very engaging, and especially when you're using adaptive approach or agile approach. you know each of those um, are are accepts or accommodates, iterative changes. So project team will also determine the scope that can be achieved based on prioritize backlogs, estimates that work involved and work collaboratively throughout the iteration to develop the scope. So uh, if some of us are not that are not familiar with agile process here, you you might want to be asking, what is backlog? Okay, let me even ask, what is backlog? The Scrum Master we have in house. What is backlog?
So
Let me.
when, yeah, so
Okay.
the first thing I have raised the hand, sir, your slide is not moving. It's stuck in the first slide.
Oh my God, you should have called my attention to it. That means I didn't set it well.
I've raised my
Hold on.
hand for that.
I didn't even see. Okay, hold on. Let me reshare it. Okay. What about now?
Yes, I can see now it.
Is it moving?
No,
It's still not
now
moving?
yes. Now
Okay.
it's moving.
Okay. So, oh my God. So, which one was the last one so, which one was the last one you were able to see?
The first slide, it was stuck over there.
The learning outcome?
No, now I can see
This one?
learning outcome. Earlier we could see only the first slide.
This one?
Now we can
Is
see,
it?
sir, the performance domain and everything. Now the slides are
Okay.
moving.
Yeah, I'm referring to the last slide you saw before you make that comment, before you call my attention to it. Was this the last one you that was stopped?
No, no.
Which one was
We
stopped?
saw the first slide. That's it. It was stuck
The
in the
first
first
slide, this
slide.
one,
Yeah,
this
this
one.
one. Yeah.
Oh my God. Ah, okay. So, all right, I'll just do a summary of this, then I'll come back to your question. So, this was the agenda that I mentioned earlier. So, this one was a little about yourself, the groups I mentioned, and you guys should form a group and submit the names to me. The learning outcomes, the performance domain. I'll talk about the performance domain that entails development approach, delivery cadence, life cycle. So, and these are the definitions here. All right, deliverables. What do we mean by deliverables? Development approach, cadence. All right, rhythm of the project from end to end. Then project phases from one level to another. Then project life cycle from the beginning to the end of the project. Then I'll talk about development approach. Basically, we have three types. We have adaptive, okay, we have predictive, and we have hybrid, which is the combination of adaptive and predictive, all right, approaches. Then the difference between predictive project management and adaptive project management. So predictive project management is used most times when you have a static plan, a project management plan, and you can predict the next phase. It doesn't really accommodate flexibility or change, but adaptive, it's more of agile methodology that accommodate changes according to user feedback or stakeholder or sponsors feedback. There is always change, and that is why it's called adaptive. And I also mentioned, talking about adaptive, that is highly used, during uncertainty and volatility. All right, and adaptive uses iterative and incremental approaches. I think this was where I was when I mentioned what is the meaning of backlog. So I mentioned that, okay, agile process, we have what is called iteration, and in Scrum, iteration is also called sprints. So where you spend 1 or 2 to 4 weeks, on a slight portion of the project also it is completed before you move to the next one. So, and I also talk about backlog. So you wanted to talk about the meaning of backlog. So over to you.
So the
Hello?
backlog is the list of,
Okay.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so the backlog is the list of work that the product owner has been listed for the developer so that they can
Okay.
work or they can pick and work on them. And the work can be any features or which the development team has to work on.
Okay. Okay. All right. So for those of you that are not familiar with Agile process, so backlog is, let me say it in a very simple way. So it's the list of part of the project that must be completed within 2 to 4 weeks, okay, before they move to the next phase. So that 1 to 4 weeks is called sprint in Scrum, okay, or iteration. So the list of what must be completed within that short period of time is called backlog, and those are the things that are part of the requirements, okay. And she mentioned something about product owner and sponsor. All right. So in project management, we regard a sponsor, all right, or product owner as stakeholders. Okay, we call them stakeholders in um, traditional project management. So it's still the same thing. So some of you, by the time you finish your project management, you will still do agile. Some of you that are already having, or you're already practicing agile, now you're in project management. So you'll be able to use those words interchangeably, and you'll be able to like swap between the two. So thank you very much for the explanation. So any questions so far before I move to the next slide? So basically, the summary is development approach has basically three types: adaptive, predictive, and hybrid. All right. So our consideration for selecting a development approach. So for you to select what approach you want to do, you must have something to consider. So there are several factors that influences what type of development approach we to use uh, when handling a project. And these categories can be divided into what do we want to achieve in our project? Is the project all about products? Is it a service project or results? We look at also the result. What do we want to achieve? What are the deliverables? What are the things or the project outcome? So the project itself, we must look at what is the project all about. Then the organization, what is the culture of the organization, the type and all of those things, including the structure, the climate. So the following subsection describes the variables associated with each of those categories. So we're going to be looking at subcategories under product, service, and result. So there are many variables, like I said, associated with these three, which are outlined below. The first one is degree of innovation. So you're going to look at the project deliverables, how innovative does what the level of or degree of innovation that is required within the scope and the requirement of the project. So the project management team has have to work together by planning up front for what's to be a predictive approach if it's something that is already planned on uh, a linear approach. So, but if it's a project that requires change over time, innovation, creativity, even when you create, they will still say, okay, no, let's add this, let's subtract this. Then adaptive approach might be the best approach or the method to handle such projects. So look at innovation. If it requires little innovation and creativity, you better use predictive. If it requires high level of innovation and creativity and change over time, adaptive approach is the best method to use. The requirements, are certainty. So when you look at certainty and uncertainty, when you have high level of certainty, predictive approach is the best. But if there's high level of uncertainty, right, adaptive approach is always a best fit for such project. Then we look. What about the scope? Scope stability. Deliverables is good. If the scope of the deliverable is stable and it's not likely to change, predictive approach is the best. But if, of course, the deliverable is always changing over time, you're always getting feedback, changes from the product owner, the product sponsor, the sponsor, or the stakeholders, then adaptive approach is the best. The ease of change. Ease of change. It's not easy to change, or bring about things, changes when you're using predictive approach. But it's very easy to change or to accommodate change when you're using adaptive approach. So whenever you want to, handle a project, you're going to be looking at what is the degree of innovation, what is the level of certainty versus uncertainty, scope, is the project stable all through or it's going to be changing, and what is the ease of adapting to change. So that will answer that question. Then also delivery options. So when you look at delivery options, the nature of deliverables and whether it can be delivered in components that influences the development approach. We're going to be looking at product, service, and results. So other things to look at is regulations, all right, government regulations. So environments that have significant regulatory oversight may need to use predictive approach. So where there are loads of documentations, bureaucratic process, you have to go through bureaucratic documentations and processes, the best approach is predictive, because adaptive is always changing. They don't follow rules and regulation all the time. They always coming back and forth, and documentation is less, right? They work on process more than documentation. They focus more on process, right? Then the other one is risk. A product that has inherently high risk requires analysis before choosing development approach. So where you have some high risk product may require significant upfront planning and rigorous processes to reduce stress. Other products can reduce risk by building up modularly or adapting the design and development based on learning to take advantage of emerging opportunities or reduce the exposure to threats. So where I will just summarize this as where you have known and unknown risk. So when you have known risk, then predictive approach is best. When you have unknown risk, and you can always adapt and change to emerging opportunities or way of reducing exposures to different threats, then adaptive is always the best. Then safety requirements is another one. Product that has rigorous safety requirements often use predictive uh, approach, because of course in predictive approach safety requirement is high and there might be need for significant upfront planning ahead of time before starting the project, right? Vice versa. Unlike where we have adaptive, that is, the risk is low because they are broken down into iterations and it can be managed within different level of sprints. So, do we understand this? Do we have any question on this? Can I move forward, or you have any question? Please feel free to ask a question. Okay. So still on consideration for selecting a development approach, the other consideration can include influence from stakeholders. All right, influence from stakeholders, which we also call sponsors or product owners. Schedules, the project schedules, constraints. All right, constraints can be from time, scope, quality. Okay, also funding, cost. Okay, so who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? So project that uses adaptive methods require significant stakeholders involvement throughout the process, because each of those iterations of sprints, once you complete all the backlog in the sprint, you take it to a product owner or sponsor for approval. If it is on project management, you take it to check with the stakeholders for approval before you move to the next sprint. Once you complete the backlog, you move to the next sprint. So certain stakeholders, such as product owner, play a substantial role in establishing and prioritizing work. Of course, you have to always get back to them, for them to look and approve if it's okay, if it's not okay, what are the changes that are required, and back and forth within each of those 2 to 4 weeks sprint period or iteration. So schedule constraints. Schedule constraint, if there is the need to deliver something early, even if it is not finished, even if it's not a finished product, an iterative or adaptive approach is beneficial. So each of those constraints, if it is within a period of time or iterative period or within a sprint, it is best the best way to approach it is adaptive approach. Then we also have funding or cost. So funding issues may come up where there are changes to budget, which can be caused by so many things. So in that case, it can lead to uncertainty, all right? Funding uncertainty or budget offshoot. Um, it's happened both in adaptive and iterative approach, but a minimum viable product can be released with less investment than an elaborate product. This allows for market testing, market capture with minimum investment. Further investment can also be made based on market response to product or service. So which of those things it needs to be adequately planned, and under project cost constraints, and that's why we have what is called management reserve, and uh, there's a reserve, project reserve, management reserve, where project manager can always go back and rely on to get additional excess to match up with project offshoot whenever there is funding, change in funding based on inflation, based on high price or something that might also come up, or even user feedback or new requirements or new additional change that might come up from the project stakeholders or sponsor. So we're going to be looking at organization, the type of organization that is handling the project. Can you hear me, please? Can you see my screen and can you hear me? Let me confirm that you are still with me.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So organization structure. So you have to look at the company structure, the company that is handling the project. What kind of structure? Is it the normal traditional structure like functional line, geographical, or we have new type of structure today that is called the flat structure where there are little, levels of management. Okay, is it organic structure or flat structure? You need to look at that. Then the other one is organization culture. Every company or every organization has a culture. Okay, some culture are more rigid, and in a rigid culture you have to, most times they use predictive. Okay, you have to follow rules, you have to follow documentation, bureaucracy, and all of that, directives. And there are some culture that is adaptive. They are adapt that they are open to change. They they are more of, they are more of flexible in nature. And this type of organization, they is best for a self-management, a self-management structure. Right? When you're having your project team, most of your project team must be, self-managing. They must know what to do. Each of those experts, subject matter experts, must be able to, know what to do at the right time. They will have organizational capability. So, what is the capability of the organization? Are they able to handle more of predictive or agile, which is adaptive, or are they able to manage it together, which is hybrid? So you must be able to know the capacity or capability of the organization. For instance, if they are handling agile, do they know more about agile mindset? Is everybody in the organization educated or trained on how to use agile? Do they have agile mindset or that expertise to execute the agile mindset throughout the organization? So organizational policy also, you know, speaks volumes. Way of working, reporting structure, attitude to work, all of this must align whether with the adaptive or agile methodologies that is being used, right? And project team, the project team size and location is another thing. So adaptive approaches, especially agile methods, often work better with a team of maybe 7, 10, 8. So adaptive approaches also favor project team that are located in the same location. So, and that is why in Agile Project Management, they will tell you face to face is the best, is the best option of communication. And some of you that are into Scrum, you always bear with me that every day there's always what we call the daily stand-up meetings. So maybe 15 minutes briefing every morning, every day, to know how the project is going, what is the next phase, what is expected of everybody. So it's very good when when you meet face to face. So in a project team where you are using agile, so face to face physical space meetings is very, very important. So lab project teams and project teams that are mostly virtual may do better using predictive approaches. Okay, so however, there are approaches that seek to scale up adaptive approaches to work with large and dispersed project teams. Any question on this? So we have organizational structure. We have to look at the structure, the culture, the capability, and the size of the project team. All right. Big project team, where you have large project team, predictive approach is better. All right, but we have small project teams. Okay, it's iterative or adaptive approach is better introduced in that environment. Do we have any question on this? Any question? Can you hear me? Are you still with me? Hello, class. Hello. Can
Yes,
you
sir.
hear
Yes,
me?
sir. We can hear you.
Okay, excellent. I just want to be sure that I'm not. The network is still. Okay, so I'm just going to jump the class exercise. I was supposed to, because we are not many today, I was supposed to choose a project and select an approach. What type of approach are you going to use in your projects? Is it going to be adaptive, predictive, or hybrid? And select, explain why you're using each of any of those approaches you have chosen. But we are not many in class today. I believe the rest will also watch the video today. So, but it's pre-recorded. So let's talk about agile values, and maybe we'll continue from there next week. So, when you talk about agile, like I told you, is a type of an adaptive approach to project management uh, that requires iterations. Okay, or sprints, where project is divided into smaller parts, and each of those smaller parts call sprints or iterations are completed within 2 to 4 weeks using backlogs. Okay, the backlogs are the list of things that must be completed within that period of weeks. Okay, so now the agile values, basically we have 4 here. So, and those agile values include: one, individual and interaction over processes and tools. So the first agile value focuses more on interactions, right? Face-to-face interactions, daily stand-up meetings, talking with teams, and adapting to change. Brainstorming ideas is better over processes and tools, which are more pronounced in predictive approaches. Then the second one is working software over comprehensive documentation. So instead of documentation and bureaucratic processes, Agile focus more on working with tech, with softwares and tools that will make the work easier and seamless. The third one is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So it's more of customer satisfaction, customers, you know, products on our product sponsors, stakeholders satisfaction, and collaboration more than just signing the project charter. Then the last one we have responding to change over following a plan. So agile values always open to change, is flexible rather than rigid, following plan from end to end. So those are the main values of agile methodology. Now, agile principles. I'm going to be reading the supposed to be 14 principles. The first one is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So agile focus on customer satisfaction. So anytime you're talking about quality and you know um, stakeholder satisfaction, you're talking about meeting and continuously improving to meeting the needs of this project's stakeholders or sponsors or product owner. So the second one is welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change to for the customer's competitive advantage. Then the third one, deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months with a preference to the shorter time scale. So this is talking about the iterations we discussed the other time, or the sprints, right? Within a shorter time to complete each of those backlogs before moving to the next one. Our business people and developer must work together daily throughout the project. So we have the project team that are also going to be working together with functional managers and also the stakeholders or the sponsors or product owner. Build projects around motivated individuals, that is the team. They must be highly motivated. Give them the environment, and support their needs and trust them to get the job done. So one of the things that a project manager must do, you are a servant leader, you must be able to remove every barriers, you know, within your team so that they can deliver as a subject matter expert within their area of core. Then working software is the primary measure of progress and the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within the development team is face-to-face conversation. I think I've mentioned this earlier. So that is the essence of the daily stand-up meetings. So the best way of communication, even when you see something like this in your exam, whether it's PMP exams or any of those project management exams, the best way of communication, okay, is face-to-face. Number one. So I know even in PMP exams, they ask something like this question. Face-to-face is the best way of communication before you go to other ones. So agile processes promote sustainable development. Uh, the sponsor, developer, and users should always be able to use to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. There must be continuous attention to technical excellence and good design that enhances agility. And also under agile principles, simplicity is the best. So simplicity, the act of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. So simplicity, take everything, make it simple to maximize quality and you know all through the project deliverables. Best architecture requirement and design emerge from self-organizing teams. So self-organizing team is very good under agile, so everybody knows what to do. They are they are subject matter experts, so they have little supervision from the project manager. All right, so those are self-organizing. That's one of the quality of a self-organizing team. At regular interval, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tune and adjust to its behavior accordingly. So most times they regularly meet daily stand-up meetings, iterations, to always look at what they've done, what they could do better, the new changes from you know any of those corners that were mentioned, whether from sponsors or from stakeholders or from product owner, or how to improve things based on changes that is happening around them. Environmental changes, legislation changes, or even eventualities, including out of God. Okay, so these are the agile principles that we have. Do we have any question? Any question so far? So I think we've come to the end of today's uh, stop sharing. Do we have any question? Okay, we have 8 students right now. So um, if you have not introduced yourself, you might want to introduce yourself before we call it a day. Um, I've met Gurdeep. I've read Radhika. We have Abdurrahman. Shobana. So if you're comfortable to introduce yourselves, if there are no questions, the floor is open. And if there are questions, I'm also available to answer your questions. Before I tell you what are the remaining parts of the class. Abdurrahman, can we meet you?
Hi, sir. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. Well,
Okay.
brother.
So what
Mm.
course are you studying? Project
Uh,
management? Well,
yeah. Um,
okay. First year, second year,
I'm
first
in my
semester,
fourth
second semester.
semester, second year, fourth semester
Oh,
with
great.
Agile University. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Shobana, Shobana, are you there?
Hi,
Just say
Professor.
hello. Hi, Shobana. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Ra, okay. Rama Badra.
Hi, sir. I'm Ramabhadran. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Nice to meet you too. Navpreet, are you there? Navpreet? Okay, let's move to Haman. Haman, are you there, Haman? Manpreet? Manpreet call? Okay, I guess they are
Good
not.
morning, sir.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, nice to meet you, Manpreet.
Yeah, you too.
My name is Professor Sam. Okay, or you can also call
Okay.
me Sam. Yeah,
Okay.
the only professor from Goa. I'm just kidding. All right, so for this week we have two couple of things that I think I mentioned it earlier for those of you that came late. So is you are required, according to the announcement I sent to the class, please you are required to form a group and send the names of your groups to me. I don't know before next week so that I can form the group on Moodle. I know from week 2 or 3 we're going to be having group assignments, so that you're going to be doing in groups. So the best thing is to form the group early as possible, and you can focus on your group assignment once we get to that level. But if you can't send me your group name, then if I put you in any group, do not complain. Okay, so I'm giving everybody to form their groups. I know you have friends or people you've worked with before or you're comfortable working with. So you can send me their names so that I can put all of you together in your groups. Godip, you raised your hand.
Yes, sir. I sent the email to you with my name of group, sir.
Okay, the group should not be more than 7. Okay, maximum is 7.
Okay, so we will include one more member in it. I'm sending you again email.
It doesn't mean it has to be 7. At least maybe
Okay.
5.
Okay,
Five,
sir.
6 is okay. Okay, that's why if it's 5, okay, 6, okay, all
Okay,
right,
sir.
but it should not be more than 7. Okay,
Okay, sir.
then the second part is what we have this week. We have our learning activity we have this week. It's a little uh, interactive learning activity about a project mobile new mobile application uh, by tourism industry. You've been given that project, but all along the first focus was to design it for luxury luxury travelers, but change from luxury travelers to budget travelers, like budget travelers, like from the high end travelers to low end travelers, with some other changes within the within the project. So there are questions there like what is the approach or the best approach to use for this type of project and why? So it's focused on our development approach, approaches that we mentioned today. The basic one are predictive, adaptive, and hybrid. So which one are you going to use and why? Okay, and just follow the process. You have 1 week from now to submit your uh, assignment. Please let's make those assignments. Let's focus more and take them very, very seriously. Okay. So thank you very much for coming. Please tell others to come next week. All right. The class is automatically recorded, and the recordings are going to be available on Teams for those that are unable to meet up with the class time. So Um, there is nothing else to tell you. If you have any questions or any clarification before we call it a day. Okay. In the absence of no other questions, no concerns, please, I wish you guys um, a productive week for the rest of the week. Please encourage others to come next week and remember to complete your assignment before the due date. So till we meet again next week. Do have a great one. And if you have any questions or clarification, my email is online on Modo. You can always send uh, your request or your questions to me. Okay, so my email is there on your Modo. Okay, some of you already have it, so please uh, feel free to communicate with me. Okay, my email again is samuel.boduri at uh, algomabrampton.ca. So do have a great day ahead or great week ahead. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. S Boduri, not Sam. S Boduri at algomabrampton.ca. Right, it's on Modo. So thank you very much and have a great one, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.